Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 71 of the Mystery Reviews, which tacks off the last of the Mystery Reviews for the month of November. Each movie, including this one, has had a theme in this particular month, which is relevant, which is Veterans Day. Each movie has some sort of tie to the military. And this movie is no different. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure that y'all smash that like button and make sure that you also check out that Instagram. I am back on Instagram under the moniker Orange Hat Reviews. And this is the profile pic that you want to look for, not the other one. My original one is a hacked account. No matter how many times I report it, Instagram will not remove the account because they haven't broken any terms of service. I mean, hacking other people's accounts tends to fall under a violation of terms of service, in my opinion. But yes, if you want to check out Instagram, go to that one. I will start putting links to my Instagram in the descriptions after this stream. I will have to edit the upcoming streams later on. But yes, episode 71, the hints were two sides of a coin that is no longer currency, which, of course, it's out of reach. 1 second. Pop goes the weasel, or in this case, pop goes the ankle. There we are. And there goes the other one. Yes, I know I forgot to mute my mic. Anyway, two sides of a coin that is no longer currency. So yes, this is indeed The Winter Soldier that I am doing a review for today. Make sure that you smash the like button. And for those of you just tuning in, hello to you, Vanja. Good to see you. It's not Captain Marvel. A lot of people thought that because of the star. I gave a couple more hints throughout. And the hint that I believe the final hint was that Gary Sinise was doing it. Also, the quote from the movie, "Please don't make me do this," which is something Cap says to Bucky when he's completely wiped and doesn't know who Cap is. So yes, without further ado, let's get into this. Make sure you smash the like button, folks. Share the stream out. It does help. And yeah, let's get into it. So The Winter Soldier. The hints the hints that were given were MCU and Star. I forgot to clarify that as well. 2014, Captain America is back and operating as a SHIELD agent. But an old enemy has resurfaced, and an old friend reappears, and the lines of right and wrong are blurred. Starring Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Samuel L. Jackson, Sebastian Stan, Robert Redford, Anthony Mackie, Kobe Smulders, Frank Grillo, Emily Van Camp, Haley Atwell. Toby Jones returns as Arnim Zola, and directed by the Russo brothers. This actually is the best version or the best film that the Russo brothers did in the MCU. Many people will contest that, saying that, oh, Endgame is the best one. When it comes to objective standard, folks, and that is what I am referring to in this case, objective standard, without bias, the Winter Soldier film is actually the better of the Russo brothers films in the MCU. You don't have too much oversaturated CGI. I mean, you can actually point out if you really pay attention to high definition CGI in certain movies that the Russo brothers did for Marvel, where there are some serious flaws. But this one is actually a great story. It opens up with Cap getting back into it after the events of Avengers. And, well, we all know that Hydra has been a sleeping parasite, basically. So, yes, let's get into it. The beginning is the on your left scene with Sam Wilson, where Steve is running around Washington, D.C. in like 30 minutes, where Sam Wilson's taken like an hour to do so. And I really do like this scene where it's like, on your left, yeah, on my left. Don't you say it, on your left. And he just runs. Now, when they are coming around the bend to the reflection pool in DC, you see that Rogers is way ahead. That's actually a stunt double where Chris Evans ran off screen and there was another actor who came up to take off way down line to let him know, kind of give you the idea of a super fast Captain America. Now, we also learned that Sam, after he's resting by the tree, the talk about his time inside or his time in the war and how he has to put Troubleman's soundtrack on a list. Now that list is different in many different countries. Or in certain countries, there's different things that are culturally associated with those countries. With America, you got things like Star Trek, Star Wars, Troubleman soundtrack, and I can't remember anything else really from that list, but it really is fun to have that little bit of nugget information. And then he gets picked up by Widow, and we're on a new mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. In the Indian Ocean, the Lemurian Star is a S.H.I.E.L.D. satellite launch ship where Cap is showing that he's less trusting of Fury, that he feels like he's Fury's janitor, really. And he feels that he should be helping everyone, not just S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel, and S.H.I.E.L.D. this and S.H.I.E.L.D. that. And you get that sense of distrust between Nick Fury and Cap, but Widow is also there. We also get introduced to Frank Grillo's character, which is Rumlow. And Rumlow later becomes Crossbones, as we all know. If you have seen the MCU, I'm pretty sure everyone in my chat has. So we then see that Widow likes to set him up, or is trying to set him up with dates and whatnot. And he's like, or I like how she says, if you ask what's her name out, she'll probably say yes. That's why I don't ask. Too busy or too scared? Or too shy or too scared? And he's like, too busy. And then he just jumps out the Quinjet. And one of the guys who plays Rollins, he also plays a bad guy in Batman versus Superman. He plays the Russian guy, Knyazhov. He's in this one. He's like, is he wearing a parachute? No, he wasn't. And, Cap, he's a super soldier. He can handle things that would break anybody else's legs, like jumping from a few thousand feet down into the water. I don't care how strong you are. You hit at that kind of velocity, or even with a slowed velocity, that's going to feel very freaking hard, man. I mean, because of Cap's healing factor, he does have a healing factor. I'm pretty sure that's why he didn't have too much discomfort. Now, the ship with George Batroc, who is Batroc the Leaper in the comics, he is holding the Lumerian Star. He's ex-DGAC Action Division. The French, Francis, or some background on the DGAC. It's France's Civil Aviation Authority, charged with provision of security and safety to air transport operators with French airspace. The government department provides oversight for regulatory measures to support sustainable development, air safety, air traffic control, economic regulation, aeronautical construction, general aviation, and aeronautical training. Batroc is on, or now, what a lot of people think when they hear DGAC, or the French is DGAC, because you hear it in a Godzilla, or that Zilla movie, not the Godzilla movie, but the Zilla movie with Matt Broderick, where DGAZ is supposedly like the French Secret Service and they're so freaking clandestine. No. What I just read you all is basically what the DGAC is. Now Batroc is on Interpol's Red Notice before the French disavowed him. He had 36 kill missions and is known for maximum casualties. Now, when he actually gets on the boat, I love how the sweeping shots along the ship show how quick Cap is moving. And the cinematography of this movie is actually quite well done. They have wide distant shots to actually give you an idea or the action that is happening, not just between the actors, but what's going on outside, which I'll get into later on. There's a nice shot during the highway battle with this. But yes, this does a really good job at showing off Cap's abilities, his speed, his swiftness, as he's knocking people off the boat. And the only thing that I'm really not too keen on is the suit that Cap wears. It's way too blue. There's no hint of stars and stripes. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's most likely a stealth suit because it's so dark and it's better at night. And his cap shield also has blue stripes, or just the blue stripe, not the red and white and blue that we all know and love. Now, this is probably, the way that I see it, this is probably done on purpose because of the imbalance of shield. Also, or because we all know that it's not going to be shield anymore. There's something inside a shield that's growing. Natasha trying to get him a date. Now, the unrealistic bullet angles where Natasha is kicking ass in the ship, where there's these two guys. She's up here pointing like this. Two guys are over like right here. And yet she points around the body that she just dropped and shoots with the angles of the guns out like this. You ain't hitting two guys that are slightly over to the side of the one guy that she's over. But you're going to have to suspend your disbelief. You got magically angling bullets. So, yes, that is an objective flaw. They could have worked on angles better. Another interesting fact is that Scarlett Johansson was pregnant during the filming of Winter Soldier. And honestly, I thought she did a pretty good job. And they did a good job cutting around certain angles and whatnot. Now, Sitwell, who we know from other movies, I believe he was in... What other movie was he in? I believe, yeah. He was in Thor, and he was also in Avengers, I believe. He's on the ship, and this guy is just so freaking gung-ho to want to kill everybody, and he's sick of waiting for Batroc and whatnot, and there's a ransom that S.H.I.E.L.D. has not answered. So it's like, okay. Now, the guy who plays Batroc, George St. Pierre, he's a real MMA fighter. And when you see the fight between Cap and this dude is serious. He's also known as one of the best fighters in MMA in the welterweight area. This dude has some serious acrobatic skill, which is actually very well done. I mean, giving a super soldier a pretty good run for the money until he gets serious, and then he just knocks the dude out really quick. After he barges in, he notices that Natalie's doing the whole saving S.H.I.E.L.D. intel, and I do like Widow's wit in this. I mean, she's very witty, but it does come across as kind of overly done in a way. But I do like how she does notice she had screwed up. She's like, okay, that was on me. And he's like, you're damn right. And when he leaves, she does admonish herself, where she smacks her head against the back of the thing a little bit, realizing that she has screwed up. Remember, she's not a super soldier like she is in the comics. She actually, in the comics, is over 90 years old. She's around the same age as Cap. Actually, I believe she was a little older than Cap, if I remember correctly. But yeah, she ends up, or we go to S.H.I.E.L.D. after this mission is done, and we see the Triskelion, which is S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, which is also mentioned in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during one of the better seasons when Hydra started coming out again. I do like how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Winter Soldier fell in line with each other, where the S.H.I.E.L.D., what's her name, woman is like, Captain America just destroyed the 3 helicarriers over to Triskelion. And then we get the Hydra reveal and whatnot. So the Cap and Fury, the line that is so important, that was set up in this movie to be later cooked in the Captain Marvel film. He's like, we trust each other. Like, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. So apparently the last person that Nick Fury trusted was a cat, or in this case, a Flerken. And he trusted this cat so much. Well, then the cat scratched his eye. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? So now that whole line in Captain America Winter Soldier is complete shit. That harms, when you put all these movies together, the objective quality of this film. However, based on itself, this movie by itself, it isn't harmed, because thankfully you don't have to go with that very stupid change of information. Now, Captain Fury going at it, he tells him, you're wrong. I do share. I'm nice like that. And this is where a lot of people, I've asked some people around who like watching the movies that I do, who are not in the YouTube community, what moment in this movie do you think kicked off Hydra against Cap, or Hydra's moving up their plan to take over? Was it Cap taking over the Lumerian, or was it Cap saving everybody on the Lumerian Star? No. It's actually this scene where Fury takes Cap to Project Insight, shows him the 3 helicarriers. By doing this, Cap now has some information that could be very well dangerous. The on paper pitch for Project Insight is that these things go up into the air. You can read DNA with the satellites, and you can take out hundreds of thousands of hostiles at peak targeting saturation. Once they go up, they never need to come down. So yeah, when Captain raises the moral questions with him, he's like, I thought the punishment came after the crime. Can't afford to wait that long. Or for after New York, they had a quantum surge and threat analysis. So now they're way ahead of the curve by holding the gun to everybody's head and calling it security. And then Nick actually tries taking a jab at him. He's like, I read all those SSR files. Greatest Generation, you guys did some pretty nasty stuff. And Rogers, I love how Rogers gives it right back. He's like, yeah, we did. We compromised in ways that didn't help us or that didn't let us sleep so well. But we did it so people could be free. This isn't freedom. This is fear. Now, it is so ironic. I mean, I could get into a political discussion about this movie, but I won't because I'm keeping it out of it. But yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D., or I like how they try, or Fury gives it back. He's like, S.H.I.E.L.D. protects the world as it is, not how we would like it to be. It's about time you get with that program, Cap. Don't hold your breath. I mean, it's a nice scene that shows just how well Samuel L. Jackson works with Chris Evans in the scene. Now, I may not agree with their own personal decisions in life, but I can acknowledge that Chris Evans is a good actor. Samuel L. Jackson is a great actor. There are certain actors that I can separate art from artist with. Chris Evans is one of them. He does a good job acting. However, there are other ones that I can't because their acting is terrible. Brie Larson. But yeah, Chris Evans, I can actually watch his films and not be totally disgusted while doing so. So, we then get Cap at the Smithsonian, where you hear Gary Sinise, from the hints I gave earlier, is narrating the life of Captain America in the whole Captain America exhibit. And we also see the reminder of Bucky and Peggy giving a thing back in the 50s. And Peggy had Alzheimer's. Or then we go to Peggy, who is now older and has Alzheimer's. And the way that they did an older Peggy is through digital face mapping and replacement, where they aged her up and gave her gray hair. And it really does. This scene is kind of very heartbreaking when they show that she has a reset during her Alzheimer's, or because of her Alzheimer's, where she was talking with Steve, and he tells her, it's like, part of the reason that I got back in was because you helped were one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I thought I could get back in, serve and whatnot. It's just not so simple anymore. And she tells him, you're always so dramatic and whatnot. And she tells him the world has changed and none of us can go back. But the best we can do sometimes is start over. But when she starts that coughing fit, she has a reset. And as a person who has lived with, or not lived in the same house as, but has lived around people with Alzheimer's, when they're talking with you in their lucid moments and then they have the that reset where they don't remember you, it can be heartbreaking at times. And you see how well Chris Evans plays this, where she has reset and she to a time where she didn't know that Steve came back. And you can see that it breaks his heart a little bit, even when he's plays along with it and says, well, I couldn't leave my best girl, not when she owes me a dance. It is just so heartbreaking in that moment, you know? It really is. And one of the things that Haley Atwell did well in all the movies where she was digitally aged, Ant-Man included, was she played the character very well in each stage, or in each state where she was aged forward. Because most people were aged backwards, where her character has to be aged forward if she's in a Shield movie, or if she's in a movie, until they did Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which she played Captain Carter. Question is, did she get frozen in time? I mean, I know for a fact that you still age, but Cap was frozen, and that's why he's still young. But anyway, we then see Nick trying to access the Lemurian star, and this is where he figures out something is wrong. Now, like I said, him showing Captain America Project Insight with the helicarriers is what kicked off Hydra, or Zola. It tipped off Zola, because Zola is alive. He is an AI that is helping, or that helped fuel Hydra's intentions inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, this is where Nick Fury gets tipped off by it. Or Director Override, Fury Nicholas J. Override unaccepted, all systems locked. On whose authority? Fury Nicholas J. How did his own authority override his own directors, or override his own override, you know? So he goes to the World Security Council, and we see that the great actor Robert Redford, who is I haven't seen him play a bad role. Robert Redford is, and I'm not saying that because he's an older actor. I'm saying that because he's a great actor. Robert Redford, I believe, played in one of the best baseball movies out there, The Natural. Yeah, it was Robert Redford that played him. And he's also done other movies throughout his career that has accentuated his performances and has accentuated his career and made him such a great actor. He plays Secretary Pierce, or Director Pierce, or whatever it is. Now, yes, Director Pierce. And we also see the scene where he's talking with the World Security Council about the Lemurian Star, and how they're all getting anxious, and they're like, it's like, you should be taking this more serious, or threats of terrorism should be taken more seriously, Director. Really? I don't think so. I don't care about one ship. I care about the entire fleet. And if this council is going to fall to rancor when anybody pushes us on the battlefield, or pushes us in the dirt, then maybe we need somebody to oversee us. And, well, that's when Fury shows up, and he calls for a delay for Project Insight, because he's like, now maybe it's nothing, but if it's something, then I think we're both going to be glad that those helicarriers aren't in the air. And he doesn't he's like, oh, very well, I'll do it, but you got to have Iron Man come to my niece's birthday party, and not just a flyover. He's got to mingle. It's like, wow, how's he going to square that over with Stark? But thankfully he doesn't, because we all know what happens. Now, Steve goes to see Sam at the PTSD meeting that he works at the VA, and you hear this woman going over her experience of how she got pulled over because a cop thought she was drunk, and she had swerved to miss a plastic bag that she thought was an IED. And Anthony Mackie plays this very well as a person who is helping these people through their own traumas. Some things you care or you bring back, or some things you leave behind, some things you bring back. The question is, what kind of a package are you going to carry it with you? A big old suitcase or a little man purse, you know? And he then, or after the meeting, he's talking with Cap, and he's talking about how he lost his friend, his partner Riley, and there was a mission where an RPG killed his friend Riley, knocked his ass right out of the sky. And it was as if he was only there to watch. And so he found a hard time reconciling what he was fighting for. He had a crisis of conscience, essentially. And that's why Sam got out. So coming home, we get introduced to Emily Van Camp's character, who is a nurse at an infectious disease ward. And she was talking with her aunt, who's an insomniac, but we all know who her aunt is, as well as who she is afterward, Agent 13. And Fury is at Cap's home, telling him that there's ears everywhere. He's talking in code while using his phone to expose the truth to Cap. Shield's compromised, and the only person I know or that knows about it is you and me. And just, he's like, so is that what we are now? If you want it to be. And then you see Fury literally get shot by high velocity rounds right through his chest. And it's like, oh shit, man. I mean, this movie really hits you with the shock factor. That's the one thing I really do like about this, or about Winter Soldier. It hits you with shock factor. A character like Nick Fury just getting gunned down and dying in this film. Well, dying. And it's like, holy crap, man. They actually went there, you know? Now, one thing I do like about the Winter Soldier theme is it gives off this kind of screaming effect, the screaming, or kind of like a screaming ghost effect, which I really do like, because every time the Winter Soldier's around, you hear that screaming kind of tune that's in with the theme. And that's actually quite ingenious, because apparently he is a ghost story or he's a legend or a ghost story in the intelligence community. So yeah, it's like most people don't believe he exists, and this dude's a myth. He has over 50 he has like over this many assassinations in 50 years. So he's a ghost story, you know? Now, Agent 13 comes in, and also Fury hands Cap, before she comes in, the Lemurian Star thumb drive, and tells him, don't trust anyone. Now, when it comes to somebody like Fury saying that, somebody who doesn't trust anyone himself, that tends to be taken serious. Don't trust anyone. And Cap doesn't in this case. He listens to Fury's last words, and they get him to the hospital, and Fury dies on the table. We learn that the ballistics is a Soviet round with no rifling and whatnot. And Natasha's dismay, how you see how she's breaking down a little bit. Don't do this to me, Nick. Don't do this to me. When he dies, she's broken a little bit inside. So when she asks, why was Fury at your apartment? I don't know. And then Cap is being called back by Strike Unit, Rumlow and them. And they're like, they want you back at SHIELD headquarters. Okay. They want you back now. Okay. Holy crap, man. And so, yeah, now everything is pushing up even further because Captain America is now knows too much. So when she calls him out on it, you're a terrible liar, and Cap is standing next to a vending machine, he can't very well return to SHIELD with that thumb drive in his pocket. So what does he do? He puts it in the gum section of the vending machine. I love how he does that too. It's like, how does he convince this guy? He's like, I'm Captain America. I'm on a secret mission. Are you ready to help save the world, dude? Are you ready to help? Well, here's what I need you to do. I need you to hide this in back of all the gum. I'm just imagining how it went down because they don't really tell you how it goes down. It is a nice scene, though. So Pierce talks with him, talks about how Nick Fury may, in fact, be guilty. So he keeps asking him, why was he there? Winter Soldier sound effect is like Joker's and Dark Knight single cello string. Yeah. Although I would actually like to know what the sound effect is, because honestly, it does kind of give off that screaming vibe, you know, where the Joker's is that single cello string that just keeps on playing. It's like they have this super long freaking bowstring that just goes and constantly up pitching, which is interesting how they did that as well. That's how you do it. Yeah. So we get the fight in the elevator, and I love how all of them are going down to different levels, forensics, this and that, and Cap's he's like looking around. He sees one guy sweating. He sees one person's moving toward his thing. He's like, all right. Before we get started, does anyone want to get out? Have you seen the trailer for Violent Night? Yes, I have, NB Geeks, and I'm going to be seeing that movie hopefully Friday night. So, yes. I like how he's like, before we get started, does anyone want to get out? Well, that kicks them all off, and boom. Hey, fierce, apathetic Black Queen. Good to see you. How you doing? Thank you for stopping in, NB Geeks. Same to you. And this fight is actually very good. They're using magnetic things to try to keep Cap restrained. Now the fight with Knyazov. Knyazov is actually the character from Batman v Superman. His character in this movie is named Rollins, but it is the same actor. I know exactly who you mean. And he then fights with Rumlow, and Rumlow's like, whoa, big guy. I just want you to let you know, Cap, this isn't personal. And Frank Grillo plays this really well, man. It was 4 for 4 in my house. It was, or we are seeing it Friday. This looks like a fun movie. And I love that movie. Yeah, nice. Well, cool. So then he says, then he says, it feels personal after he knocks Rumlow out. And so he then goes to escape out the window because everybody on every floor is trying to stop him. So he jumps out the window, and it's like everybody's looking at him. I'm like, Captain America just got launched out of a freaking window. What the hell? There's the Hulk up there or some shit. I mean, if I was a bystander, that's what I would be wondering, you know? So he uses his bike to get out. The battle with the Quinjet on the bridge is pretty cool. I mean, you see this thing speed by the side, and then the camera pans over. That is great cinematography because it shows, or that is one thing I do like about the Russos. They have great direction of cinematography. And when you see this fight between Cap and the Quinjet, it's like, stand down, Cap, stand down. It's like, you're not even giving him a chance to stand down. You just opened fire before he even accelerated, you know? So I don't think these people are there to stop him or bring him in. I think they're there to kill him, you know? So he takes out the Quinjet, and he then hides. Now, there's a deleted scene where he realizes that agents are looking for him. Well, he realizes that his suit may be bugged, you know, because Nick Fury bugged his entire apartment. It's like, well, maybe my freaking suit's bugged. And he ends up switching with some guy's gym clothes at a gym. So he leaves, and there's that deleted scene where Rumlow, Frank Grillo's character, Rumlow, finds the Cap suit. And it's like, well, then there you go. That's why when you see after he gets away from them, he's at the hospital in a hoodie, and he goes to the vending machine to get the thumb drive back, although it's not there. And then you see Widow in the reflection pop up behind him, blowing a bubble of bubble gum, and it's like, really? She's that good? Now, I like how he just grabs her, pushes her through. Where is it? Safe. Do better. It's like this whole fight between them is like, stop lying. I only act like I know everything, Rogers. Chris may be a POS. Yes. And yeah, I did cover that, MB, where I said I can actually suspend art or separate art from artist with Chris Evans. I may not like him in real life. I mean, the dude says some pretty heinous shit, but yeah, he is a good actor. Now, the story of the Winter Soldier, where Natasha tells him that he shot the person she was there to save through her Soviet slug, no rifling. And oh shit, I didn't even cover the attack on Fury. I'm sorry. The attack on Fury in broad daylight, and the first appearance of the Winter Soldier is that vehicle, man, where or that Fury is driving with a machine gun, flight systems, automatic driving, completely bulletproof. Really, I want a vehicle like that. I guess the only way that you're going to get a vehicle like that is if you're president. But holy shit, man. I want a vehicle like that. Like one that can fly. Now, so also the scene where, or after the Winter Soldier shoots Fury and Steve goes after him, I do love that scene from the trailer where he throws the shield at the Winter Soldier, and it's in the movie too, where the Winter Soldier just turns and just catches the damn shield with his arm. It's like, whoa. I didn't know that he had a metal arm in the movie yet when I first saw the trailer. So when he catches the shield like that, I'm like, no. Because if somebody just catches Cap's shield after he throws it, because that sucker's going fast, your thumb would be cleaved off. Let's just put it that way. Scarlett Johansson, or ScarJo, was a great choice. Black. Yes, she was until she started getting crazy with her nonsense. But yeah. So I did want to go back to those moments to cover them. I'm sorry that I skipped over them, folks. That's why I should pay more attention to my damn talking points here. So when also the scene where Sitwell is saying, whatever your op is, bury it. Or this is security level red. Everybody, and Agent 13 steps in. She's like, with all due respect, if S.H.I.E.L.D. is conducting a manhunt for Captain Rogers, we deserve to know why. And Pierce said it. It's like, because he lied to us. Captain Rogers has direct knowledge pertaining to the death of Director Fury, and he refused to share it. Like it or not, Captain America is now a fugitive of S.H.I.E.L.D. So now that I'm back up to date with Natasha telling him about the Winter Soldier, she goes to a thing they go to a mall to decrypt the flash drive, and she's like, how long do we got? Well, approximately 9 minutes from now. And then you see the strike unit roll out from the Triskelion as soon as she plugs it in. So we get that stupid Aaron guy with the long hair. I've been Aaron. I have no idea who that guy is, but he looks familiar. They have to evade strike in the mall, and it's like, center tech team, I'll engage, you do this. And it's like, put your hand around, or shut up, put your hand around me and laugh at something I said. What? Just do it. And so he does, and it's like, this is where spycraft works over military engagement. Cap is a soldier. He's thinking how to handle these guys, where she's like, do this, do this, do this. We'll get out of this perfectly. They're going up the escalator and they see Rumlow. She's like, kiss me. What? Public displays of affection make people very uncomfortable. Yes, they do. So she kisses him, and, well, this causes Rumlow, and he's like, turns away, And she's like, still uncomfortable? I'd be like, yeah, you kissed me without consent, bitch. One thing that is great about this movie is the elevator scene in his situational awareness. Yeah. I mean, if you got to be able to read a situation like that. I mean, if people are calling different levels, packing an elevator, you got one dude sweating his ass off next to you. It's a situation that would make anyone read it wrong. I'm not military trained, but I would read that situation exactly how Cap did. It'd be like, kind of crowded in here. Okay, yeah. Something's about to go down. I mean, I'd be on edge too. But then again, me with my issues, I'm always on edge. But yeah, they find that they got to go to New Jersey, and I love that. It's like, can I ask you something? Although if you don't answer it, that's fine. Or you don't have to answer it. Although I feel that if you do answer it or don't answer it, you're kind of confirming. What? Was that your first kiss since 1945? That bad, huh? And she's like, not saying it was bad. And he's like, I'm 95. I'm not dead. And no, it wasn't my first kiss. I'm 95. I'm not dead. It's like, yeah, but dude, you're going to be smooching on Sharon Carter later, which is kind of fucked up after the love of your life dies and you immediately move on. Like, what the fuck. That was in Civil War, by the way. But yeah, they get to New Jersey. You get the nice reminiscence of the drill instructor telling Rogers to pick up the pace. And they use the same audio from Captain America, the First Avenger, with this drill instructor. Rogers, I said fall in. When it was the whole whoever can bring or hand a flag to Agent Carter or get the flag and get to ride back with Agent Carter, but they used it in a different situation in this case. And you see Roger or young Rogers looking at Cap from the memory and whatnot, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And then he notices that Army regulations are forbidding munitions to be stored 500 feet from the barracks. Now, when he uses his shield to cut that lock, they had to, I think it was like something around 20 takes or something like that, because if you see the blooper reel, he can't get it at all, man. He's just getting the angle wrong. He's just missing the lock entirely. He can't even fucking break a lock. Well, the one thing that they do got, it's like, oh my God, no wonder they had to cut it so quick, because he would be freaking, I'm guessing that after he finally hits it, he'd be like, yeah, everybody and whatnot, which would ruin the take. So they would have to cut it as soon as he cut the damn lock. And we get the scene with Zola now. And I love how this is introduced. Rogers, Stephen, born 1918. Romanov, Natalia Alenovna, born 1984. And I love how they actually used her actual date of birth, because she's a year older than me, which is pretty cool. And she's like some kind of recording. I am not a recording, Fräulein. I may not be the man I was when the captain captured me in 1945, but I am. So Zola in the comics is a robotic body with his face and his stomach on a screen by the stomach, which he's able to walk around with as a robot. Zola in or more grounded Marvel, Earth 199999, which is the cinematic universe's Earth designation before Phase 4 of Marvel. Yeah, they have him as a artificial intelligence, which is pretty cool. 3 months is not a year, Dan. She was born in 1984. I don't know what her freaking birthday is. All I know is that she was born in 1984, so that's inside of a year for me. But if you really want to make a fuss about it, when was Scarlet? November 22nd. Well, her birthday just passed 7 days ago. So, yeah, she's 38. I'll be 38 next year. So, yeah. Anyway. It's actually under 3 months. Ha! It's 2 months and change. But, yes. Thank you, Vanja, for bringing that out. Yeah. But yes, so we get the scene where he describes Project Insight, and where he was part of Project Paperclip, where the U.S. brought in scientists for strategic value. Now, this contradicts Agent Carter show, which was also part of the MCU, because Zola was arrested and he was also put in prison. Why would they release him from prison if they knew that he was working with Hydra? You know? This is something that is very disturbing. And he's like, they thought I could further their cause. I also furthered my own. A beautiful parasite inside Hydra. Hydra died with the Red Skull. Cut off one head, tomorrow shall take its place. You know, like the coin says here. Yeah. Cut off one head, tomorrow will take its place. So he tells him, what is Project Insight? Project Insight requires insight. And he tells him about the New World Order. And I dropped my fucking coin. Where'd you go? Where did you go? Oh, wow. Lost my coin. Anyway, so the Winter Soldier was basically behind different assassinations throughout the world, including Nicholas Fury. He also sees that that's a possible shield would have stopped you. Accidents happen. And you also see that Howard Stark was killed by the Winter Soldier. So it's like, yeah, this dude has been around for many years, killing people. And this also becomes a major plot point later for the Civil War movie, where Cap basically knows the truth about his friend, but can't tell his other friend because his other friend will go postal and try to kill everybody else. Now, I like the part where Zola does also tell Rogers, it's like, we won, Captain. The world is now ready to give up its freedom for security, and Hydra's new world order will arise. Your death will equates the same of the same as your life, a zero sum. And I love how he punches the screen. He's like, as I was saying, and he's like, what does this drive do? The answer to your question is fascinating, although you won't be alive, or none of us will be alive long enough to hear it. And we learn that they launched a missile. I have been stalling, Captain. And it's like, you know how or just before the missile hits, he rips out the grate and throws it to the side. It's like, motherfucker, if I were you, I would have used the grate instead of your shield to freaking block all that fallen debris. I mean, that's just me. Because I'm pretty sure that grating would have probably helped save your life a little bit more, you know? So that was kind of a weird thing. It's like, oh, super strong, gotta throw that over there. Oh shit, I could use that. Dumbass. But anyway, they show up after they escape, just as strike team's showing up. And you get Grillo's character, Rumlow, saying, call in the asset. Well, then we get the scene with the asset. With Pierce. And now Pierce is looking at the Winter Soldier in his home. So right now, it hasn't been fully revealed that Pierce is a Hydra agent. And he's looking at the Winter Soldier, and he's like, or his Renata, this housekeeper woman, is getting ready to leave. You want some milk? It's like, oh, so this bastard is actually, or so Pierce is fucking with Hydra. Great. I mean, it was a great reveal. I'm telling you that right now. When I first saw this movie, it's like, son of a gun, Robert Redford is actually a bad guy in this. So, yeah, she comes back and he's like, oh, Renata, I wish you would have not. Shoots her dead. And it's like, wow, dude. Because nobody's allowed to see the Winter Soldier. He doesn't exist. And he wants confirmed death in 10 hours. So, yeah. So they go to Sam for help. It's like, I'm sorry, man. didn't want to come to this. Everybody else is trying to kill us. Not everybody. And then Sam talks about the mission, or they're going over their little mission stuff, and Sam offers his help with his own abilities. Now, Sam Wilson in the comics, he can actually speak to birds. He can actually communicate with birds, which is pretty cool. I wish they had actually incorporated that in the movies, but they didn't. They wanted to keep it grounded. So they have to get his bird thing, or his bird suit, out of Fort Meade. And it's like, I love how they look at each other. Steve looks at Widow. She's like, it's easy peasy. Won't be a problem. Well, we don't see that happening because that would have been like a 30-minute scene all its own, or like a 15-minute scene all its own, or however, or whatever, or whatever and whatnot. Instead, we get the scene with the senator, or that little prick senator from Iron Man 2. I can't even remember his damn name. He's talking with Sitwell, and he's talking about how he's going to press the Flash 23, kind of hot. And it's like, so you're basically going home to fuck one of your constituents wants to be a reporter. Basically bribe the girl so she could be a reporter, but she's going to have to owe your ass later on. Well, we also learned that this guy is like, that's a very nice pen. Come here. Hail Hydra. It's like, oh, yeah. This dude is an ass clown. This ass clown prick of a senator is a Hydra agent as well. It's like, well, okay, that explains him. And so they kidnap Jasper Sitwell now with Falcon. And I love this whole interrogation where they throw him out and they're like, what are you doing on a Lemurian star? I was getting seasick. I hate the ocean. It's like, and then he gets him to the edge and he's like, this little display of intimidation is supposed to insinuate you're going to throw me off the roof, Rogers? Because that's not your style. You're right. It's not. It's hers. He steps aside. She kicks him right off. I love how that played out. Where she's like, you're right. It's not. It's hers. It just worked so well. Hey, what about that girl Lillian? Yeah, lip piercing? Yeah, I'm not ready for that. They're still trying to freaking get him a date. It's like, oh my God, man. It's enough with the date. That's the one thing that I wish they didn't really do. I mean, the whole date thing, it's like, that you could easily cut that shit out and have him dragged back up by the Falcon. They could have been discussing something else, you know? The dating thing, I'm like, whatever. But this is enough to get Sitwell to spill his guts. And let me explain it with the talking points. That's what these things are there for. We get that Project Insight is basically meant to choose any threat to Hydra now or in the future to kill them. Now, the 21st century is a digital book. Zola taught Hydra how to read it. Your bank records, your medical histories, voting patterns, emails, phone calls, your SAT scores. Hydra evaluates your past to predict your future. And he's like, what threats? You or some kid or some valedictorian kid in a high school, some coach here or there, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who will be a threat to Hydra now or in the future. So it's like, could it be possible to actually do that sort of thing? Read your bank records, medical history, voting patterns, emails, phone calls, SAT scores, evaluating a person's past to predict their future. Now, I honestly don't think that would be possible. Even if you did destroy that entire level of privacy that would require the complete destruction of your constitutional right to privacy. But yeah, so then we get to the scene on the bridge or on the highway where it's like, we're going to use him to break into S.H.I.E.L.D. to stop these things from taking off and whatnot. And it's like, that is such a bad idea. And you learn that these helicarriers, the ones that for Project Insight, are the ones that are going to scratch off a few million at a time. And I'm like, well, Hydra's New World Order. Yeah, to create a situation so chaotic that people are willing to give up their freedom willingly. It kind of happened in the real world, just saying. But back to the film. How did the Winter Soldier just land on their car? That's the one thing I didn't get. It's because he just suddenly turns up on the car, rips Sitwell out of the vehicle, throwing him to where he gets hit by a Penske truck that everybody continues to say is done by the Punisher. Because it's a shout out to the Punisher, apparently, with a Penske truck. And we get him on the highway. And what I was saying earlier about great wide shots is this is another one, because you see them all looking at her or looking at the Winter Soldier. And then you cut to that wider shot where you see another bigger vehicle coming in back of that car. And I love how our Widow pulls her gun and is just about to shoot when they get hit by the car. And it's like, oh, damn, at least she was a smart one. She's getting ready to freaking shoot while they're all just standing there like, And then Winter Soldier does a smart thing, ripping the wheel out of the car. And then we get the shootout. Well, Cap gets blown off the bridge with a grenade launcher, because I like how the Hydra agents just hand him their weapons. It's like, here, you take this. All right. And they just hand him, or they know the Hydra agents they know to defer to his planning, They give up their weapons for him. And Widow jumps over the bridge because she almost got blown up. And I like how she uses the shadow because she sees that he's there and the Winter Soldier can't see her. So he knows that Cap fell into the bus. So he's going to shoot the bus. Well, that's when she shoots his glass, pulls off his goggles. And we know clearly, oh, crap, that dude looks a lot like those eyes are familiar. And so, I mean, if that didn't give it away, it was pure as day that was Bucky. And we get to the fights and whatnot. And I like how Widow fights the Winter Soldier at first. And when she fights him, she's trying her normal routine with the acrobatics, using her own weight to throw him around. However, that doesn't work with him because, well, the metal arm also helps, He's also a super soldier himself. So, yeah. But I do like how quick she is when he has the gun. He brings up the gun. She brings up her stinger, throws it, and his arm just dies and his momentum goes down with the shot. So he has to rip the stinger off. And as he's moving towards the stinger, she's already freaking yards away. And when she gets shot by the Winter Soldier, she drops to her knees and is up. The shock of her getting shot with a through and through is like, she's really her body starts spasming as she falls back, and it's like, oh shit, man. At least they can get some shock trauma, is what I call it. At least that makes it look real. That makes it like, okay, it's like most people who get shot, where she gets blasted, she drops to her knees and she has that small spasm of shock. I mean, yeah, she reacts with verbally, but that's actually a very nice way that they do it. And then we get Steve versus the Winter Soldier, where he saves her ass just really quickly with the whole arm versus the shield. And I love how they do that. I mean, the whole fist against fist thing with Hulk and Hulkbuster in Avengers Ultron was very well done, or was also very well done. But this one should have kind of given off a nice little wave too, a little bit. Not one as big as Hulk and Hulkbuster, but definitely noticeable, you know? So we also get the fight where, because when he throws Cap off, he's holding, or Bucky's holding the shield. Now, this is a call out to the comics where Bucky eventually does take the shield as Captain America. I mean, yes, there was a failed comic book run with what they're currently doing with Falcon as Captain America, but Bucky was the one who was supposed to wield that shield in the comic, because he does in the comics. He becomes Captain America later on in the comics. So I like how the choreography is with the knife. How he flips up the knife, catches it, boom, 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 or up, down, up, and you see how the Winter Soldier's arm can lock, or you see that later, but how his arm, you hear the whirring in his arm, the mechanical nature of his arm, where he grabs him, squeezes, throws him, and how he can use his arm to increase strength to do things. It really is a great way of expressing the abilities of his arm. But when the reveal of Bucky comes up, when he finally hits the mask off and throws him over, the shock of it, man. He's like, Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky? And he goes to shoot him. Now, where is he getting all these guns, man? I mean, I know he had the Scorpion machine pistol on his back, which rapid fires like 15 rounds in a second. But where did he get the that 4-barrel pistol that he had to shoot again? And it's like, where did that come from? Now, that's when Sam comes in with his Falcon wings. It's like, where'd you get your Falcon wings, man? Where were those? You know? But he then he knocks him over, and you see the briefest hesitation from the Winter Soldier. He's like, and then immediately it's like half a second. It's like he's looking at Steve, he looks away, and then just draws, meaning he's still operating on automatic instinct to kill his target. Well, that's when Widow saves the day by using the M4 rocket, or the M4 grenade launcher, to save Cap's ass. But Cap is just so broken at this point. He is so caught off guard, so in shock that his best friend just tried to kill him, but is also still alive. And we get the scene in the car, or no, wait, before that, that's when Strike shows up and arrests him. And Rollins, who got his ass kicked in the elevator, is still very much pissed off. Puts the barrel right to the back of the head. Well, Rumlow's looking around. He sees the media and people coming around. He's like, put your gun down. Not here. Not here. You understand that it's like, you don't want this kind of optics. They're about to execute Captain America in public. No, that would be extremely bad optics, even, or it would definitely turn people against the government. So yeah, we get the escape from there because Hill's hiding out as one of the people in the thing. M203 grenade launcher mounted on an M4 rifle. Yeah, that one. And so we then get the reveal that Nick Fury's alive. Now, the doctor that is helping Nick Fury and also helping Widow is actually one of the Russo brothers. I believe it's Joe, not Anthony, but Joe Russo. And he plays the gay guy in Avengers Endgame, who's talking about how he had dinner and they kissed and they cried and whatnot. It's like, I don't care. But anyway, so we then see that Nick Fury's alive and it's about damn time. And he has a lacerated spinal column, a cracked sternum, shattered collarbone, perforated liver, and a collapsed lung, and a one hell of a headache. And the way that his heart stopped beating was the tetrodotoxin B that Banner was trying to develop for stress, but didn't work out for him. So there is that nice little scene, and it's like, now we gotta come up with our plans. Well, all the while, we now see the truth behind what happened with Barnes, where he fell, he survived the fall. Or as he's allowing, or you see the doctors going to work on his arm, but then you see him react a little bit and then standing up, how they're cutting, or how they're doing what's known as out of time cutting or is how I put it. They're already showing his reaction to something he already did, but we haven't seen what happened yet, which is an interesting way of cutting it, especially in this situation, because then we see that he was captured. They cut his arm off. He was awake to see the arm getting cut off, apparently, which is weird. Then you see him going like this with the metal arm and then grabbing a doctor. Another doctor comes up and puts the needle in him, but it shows, or it then cuts to Zola being the one that did it, or that put him on ice, or hit him with the sedative, and then they have him put on ice. So then he gets up and smashes one of the doctors away. Well, the security team around him immediately start pointing their guns at him, but he's just sitting there. He's just kind of just sitting there hunched forward like this. Well, Pierce comes in and is like, sir, he's unstable. He's acting erratic. And so they call for the mission report. Mission report now. Still nothing. So frickin' Pierce just bitch slaps the Winter Soldier. The man on the bridge, who was he? You met him earlier this week on another assignment. And then you see the reminiscence. I knew him. And Pierce gives him the whole, you've been a gift to mankind, or humanity's on the brink of order and chaos. So tomorrow we're going to give it a push, but we need your help to do it. And Hydra, or we need your help and for Hydra and whatnot. But I knew him. So Bucky is now basically breaking through. He's understanding, or he's not all there, but he is breaking through. He's remembering things. Well, prep him. He's been out of cryo freeze too long. Then wipe him and start again. Now, this is completely different from the stuff that they show in Winter Soldier, or not in Winter Soldier, but in Civil War, where he's does what he does with, or only because of hypnotic suggestion, and yet he could break out into different times. It's like, no, that really does kind of contradict shit, you know? So when they put the bit in his mouth and he's leaning back, he's complying, but he also is aware that it's going to really hurt what they're about to do with the electroshock against his brain, and they start frying his brain eventually, or essentially. Hey, Kamen Rider, good to see you. How you doing? So we then see Shield they're planning to take down Shield, and Nick, sorry, what's today's movie? It's The Winter Soldier, Kamen Rider, and Nick Fury wants to salvage what he can of Shield, and Cap's just had enough. It's like, we're not salvaging anything. We're not just taking down Hydra, Fury. We're taking down Shield. Shield had nothing to do with this. Hydra grew right under your guys' nose and no one noticed. Why do you think we're meeting in this cave? I noticed. But how many people died before you did? Shield, Hydra, it's all got to go. And Hill is actually agreeing with us, even though she's always been Fury's lapdog. She's like, it's time. And it's like, very well, you're the one calling the shots, Cap. And he then has that nice little reminiscence of Bucky back in the 20s. Or in the 30s, rather. And it really is a nice touch where he's just coming back from his final or his mother's funeral, and Bucky was there. It's like, you could stay with us, man. It'd be like old times. I mean, you don't have to be by yourself, you know? This is true friendship here between Bucky and Steve back in those days. They were inseparable, as Gary Sinise's narration earlier in the film suggested. Now, a lot of people who are SJWs can say, oh, this would have been the perfect setup for them to be gay. No. Back then, that wasn't even a connotation back then. Now, yes, there were gay people back then, but still, this was two people who had grown up together, who were very good friends. I'm with you to the end of the line, pal. Know that. And that comes later on as a memory, or which is used to trigger the memory. Thought it was Marvel related when you mentioned the Shield. Yeah. But yeah, and Sam tells him, this guy, I don't think he's the kind you save. He's the kind you stop. And he's like, I can't do that. He may not give you a choice. And he's like, I got to try. Well, where are you going? Or if you're going to serve, you got to wear a uniform. And then we get the cameo with Stan Lee. God, I miss Stan Lee. He lived a full life. And he's the security guy in the Smithsonian. And he looks up and he's like, oh, man, I am so fired. Because the Captain America uniform's missing. But the shield is still there. And if you look really close at that shield, you can see that they punched out the fist indentation that Red Skull left. They actually did their best to punch that out so that it was no longer damaged. That's one thing that I actually really liked, is that they still paid that close of attention to detail for this film. Friendship should be sacred, real ones. Yeah, exactly, Vanja. And so we get them breaking into S.H.I.E.L.D. Also, the Security Council has arrived, and they're all going up into the main thing where they're talking, or they're moving to get insight going up again. And they're all prepared for Hydra to win in this case until Cap breaks in and starts giving a speech. Now, he totally rats out Alexander Pierce is their leader, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra. Or the strike team are Hydra. There are probably many more others. Some of them are probably right next to you, and you won't even know. Well, we see Agent 13 is also reacting to this. We also see that Rumlow is heading down to operations. So it's like, okay. Everybody's now panicking. Well, the strike team also gets to the top of the stairs to the World Security Council, and they're like, arrest him. It's like, dude, that's strike team. Don't you know your own damn teams? Well, because that guy pulls a gun on him, and he's like, okay, yeah. So Rumlow tells the guy to preempt the launch and send the carriers up now. Well, that's not exactly going to work out. He's like, I'm not sending no ships up. Captain's orders. And welcome back, Fierce Apathetic Black Queen. And as soon as he says captain's orders, well, Rumlow pulls the gun, move away from your station. And that's when everybody pulls their guns, because Agent 13 pulled hers as well. She's like he said, captain's orders. Chose the wrong side, Agent. Depends on where you're standing. I like her pistol, by the way. Her pistol has some nice modifications to it. And so you see that Hydra agents and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, none of who you can tell which are which, are all pointing guns at each other. Well, Rumlow cuts her arm as he's lowering his weapon. He pulls a knife to cut her arm, and he then grabs her gun and is about to shoot the engineer guy. So she kicks him away, and then Rumlow preempts the launch, sending the ships up. And as he's running, you see her insane accuracy. As he's running behind the glass and whatnot, her shots are directly on him. I have not watched the anime Vinland Saga, so I can't give much thoughts on the anime. So we then get all the Hydra or the carriers are going up and whatnot, and we see Falcon versus or Cap. Oh crap! My friend knows that I am live around this time, and like clockwork, he calls every fucking. That's the thing between me and my brother Chris. I mean, he just does that all the time. But anyway, Cap and Falcon are on the carriers, taking care of the people on different carriers, and Councilman Hawley is not who she appears to be, because when Pierce tries to say, it's like, what if you could save, or what if Pakistan marched into Mumbai, took your daughters hostage, brought them to a stadium to be executed, and you could stop it with a flick of a switch? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't all of you? Not if it was your switch. Well, Pierce is about to shoot the guy after he stops him. And I love that. He's like, and he grabs the gun to go to shoot the guy. And that's when it's revealed that Holly, the female council member, is Widow. She has some very familiar moves. And she's wearing a what do they call those? Static veils, I believe. And yeah, no, oh my God, that's long place. Yeah, it was a static veil or photostatic veil. That's what it's called. So then we are see more of the fights between Bucky and the Falcon and the Quinjets and Cap on the thing, and we also see that there are some Shield agents that are about to go and help Cap and whatnot. Well, the Winter Soldier is now there blasting all the Shield loyalists and whatnot. And during this time, Widow is getting ready to dump all of Hydra's and Shield's secrets onto the internet. And the council's just standing there like, what are you doing? She's getting ready to dump all of our secrets on the internet. All of Hydra's and Shield's. Are you ready for them to see you for who you really are? And I love how she hesitates for the smallest moment. And then he's like, there's nothing, or they're going to know everything about you. Are you ready for them to see who you are? Are you? This one's a more important one. Sorry, folks. 1 second. But yeah, and I love how she does turn that around. She's like, are you? So they're switching out the targeting blades for each helicarrier, and I do like how Fury also arrives because they're getting to the last section of it, and it's like, in order to do that, you need 2 alpha level members. And Fury's dead. Well, don't worry, company's coming. And I love how he gets in there and Redford's just like none, and he's like, did you get my flowers? Fury's just looking at him like, I'm gonna kill you, man. I really am gonna kill you. He's like, you get my flowers? I just love that. And then they cut to or they're talking about the whole thing. They're like, what, you don't think we didn't wipe your retinal scan? I know you probably disabled all my clearances, probably even deleted my retinal scan. But if you're going to stay ahead of me, Mr. Secretary, pulls up the patch, you need to keep both eyes open. That is peak Nick Fury right there, folks. Peak Nick Fury with that. And after that, we see that Bucky takes out Steve and Sam rather quickly and efficiently because they're getting ready to put in the final targeting blade. And Sam, or the first thing that the Winter Soldier does is kick Steve off the freaking helicarrier. Well, Steve thankfully is on one of the engines and is able to get or stay on. Well, Falcon gets one of his wings ripped off and then kicked off of the helicarrier by Bucky, and he has to he gets grounded on the Triskelion. So he now has to help save the council because Rumlow's heading towards the council. Now, we also get the Sam intercepting Rumlow, and when Rumlow takes off his vest, you see that he has a cross or an X on his chest which is reminiscent to the Crossbones future. And Bucky is now down in the area to switch out the targeting blade with Cap. This fight is very it's very emotional between Cap. He's like, a lot of people are going to die, Buck. Please don't make me do this. Because he still cares for Bucky. Bucky doesn't recognize him. So there's the fight. And in this case, you see that the Winter Soldier is actually learning from the last time they fought Cap, where he's not shoots directly at the shield, but down around the side of the shield. And he actually manages to score a grazing shot on Cap. So we also see that Pierce gets an upper hand where he fries the council members except for Widow. And there's that little impasse. Cutting back to the helicarriers, they start to come online because Steve is held off for too long, and we see that all of the targeting saturation starts. You see Stark Tower, the Capitol, Manhattan, several other areas, all within the targeting radius. And it's like, holy shit, over 700,000 people are about to lose their lives in the blink of an eye. Well, the Blades are, after getting shot up by Bucky, he manages to still get the last blade in, which switches the targets to just the helicarriers. And it's like, whew, the helicarriers get to shoot the shit out of themselves now. And we get to the scene with the collapse of the carriers. Now, we also see that Pierce is about to get out because his plan's been shot to shit. He reacts to the carriers shooting each other. What a waste. And he's like, or Widow's held at gunpoint, so she uses one of the stingers on herself. And this causes the reboot for the pin that he used to kill the other council members that's also attached to her. Well, Fury takes this moment to shoot Pierce dead. Or to shoot Pierce. He's not dead. He manages to stay alive for a few more minutes. But Natasha and Fury manage to get out. Now, while this all happens with Rumlow is fighting Falcon, and also Bucky has gotten pinned from the debris. Well, Cap goes to help Bucky, and Sam has to jump out of the building so he doesn't get crushed, because Rumlow is getting crushed in there and burnt up a lot too. And I love how he's like, 41st floor, or he's like, I'm on the 41st floor. So he jumps out the window and they have to turn the helicopter so he doesn't get diced. And he's like, so they catch him, 41st floor, 41st. It's not like they put the numbers on the outside of the building. So they're all looking for Cap because Hill and them are all clear. Well, Cap he's trying to reach Bucky. He's like, you know me. No, I don't. And Bucky's just beating on him. And he's like, Bucky, you've known me your whole life. Your name is James Buchanan Barnes. And he's telling him, shut up. Bucky's not there yet, but he is breaking through. And he tells him, I'm not going to fight you, Bucky. And he drops his shield out the collapsing helicarrier. Well, he's like, you're my best friend. Well, the Winter Soldier tackles him down because his right arm, his real arm, is dislocated because of the fight between him and Cap. And he pins Cap with that arm, and he's like, "You're my mission." And he just starts beating on Cap ruthlessly. I actually like the brutality in that bit because it just shows him how powerful that arm really is. You also get to see that the arm can lock in certain places with the ribbing of the arm. It can actually lock in order to not budge, which is pretty cool. You also get to see, or when he stops and he's like, "Then finish it, because I'm with you till the end of the line." And you see the horrified look on Bucky's face. A target has never done this to him. So I also like how when it's showing Bucky, you see the pillar behind him coming down like this to collapse the helicarrier to get them to escape. Well, Cap's about to drown until Bucky saves him and drags him to shore. We then see, let's see here. Or after that, he walks away, Bucky does, and we see the aftermath. The hospital where Cap is at, Agent 13 is at the CIA shooting perfect bullseyes. Hill is at Stark Industries. The Hydra senator, that little prick dude, gets arrested. Rumlow is being dragged out of the rubble and survived. And Fury is going into one of his safe areas to ghost himself, essentially. Not kill himself, but ghost his identity. And then we get the Senate hearings with Black Widow. And I love how she's like, "You're not going to put me in prison. You're not going to put anyone of us in prison. Why? Because you need us. So, yeah, if you're going to arrest me, arrest me. You know where to find me." And so her and Fury are going after Hydra's remnants. And Sam and Steve are going to go look for Bucky. And we cut the credits. I could go over the conversations, but that's essentially what it is. And I am running over time a little bit. So we get the mid-credit scene with Strucker and the Doctor, where he's like, "Hydra, shield, two sides of a coin that is no longer currency." And we see Loki's scepter and we see the twins. Now, if you pay attention to the twins in this scene, you see that Quicksilver, or Pietro, has brown hair instead of the white hair that we see him have in Age of Ultron. So it's like, I thought he always had white hair, you know? But I do like how we see their powers manifesting, where he's getting used to his power, his speed, and where she's manipulating the blocks and then goes like this, and you see the blocks just smash together out like this word, which is pretty interesting. It's like, oh damn, she's gonna be dangerous. And then the last scene is Bucky at the Smithsonian looking at his own biography, and you hear the screaming theme of the Winter Soldier. So objectively on this film, I would say that this film is about an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. There are some moments that can be trimmed and cut and some useless moments here and there. But for the most part, this movie is actually very well objectively filmed, objectively done well, aside from some writing that just didn't really need to be there. The whole setting Cap up for a date seems to be a little bit trying to do humor, but not really hitting it very much. Subjectively, I'd put this film at about a 9 to a 9.5. I really like the Winter Soldier film from Captain America. It's a good MCU film. It falls within the movies that were peak MCU at the time, in my opinion. Moviegoer, this movie's a 10 out of 10. It really is good. It keeps you interested, keeps you on the film. You only pause if you have to use the bathroom. That's about it. As for the hints for next week, which is in Christmas month, you will also notice that the thumbnails are changed for next month to reflect a more Christmassy theme. The movies are all going to be Christmas related. They either take place during or around Christmas. So that is the main theme for all of December's mystery reviews going forward. But next week's specifically is Christmas in Space. So if you know it, do not spoil it in the chat. You can message me on Facebook or something. If you know it, I know Vanja will message me on Facebook with his guess. But if you want to follow me on any other socials, folks, I am on Twitter. I'm working on getting my original account back. Hopefully Elon Musk's general amnesty will allow that. It's probably going to take a while, or probably by the end of the week, hopefully. You can also catch me on here. Tonight, I'm going to be on Society Reviews Barroom podcast, where we discuss certain things. We're going to be talking about Alyssa Milano's meltdown, Elon Musk versus Apple, and a few other things. So be sure to catch us at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, also if you want to do a guest choice review, you can hit me up and we could do a guest choice review where you get to choose the film, the time, and the date. I get to choose the venue, which is going to be my channel. And so, yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Vanja, Kamen Rider, Fierce Apathetic Black Queen. Who else? NB Geek. Thank you so much for tuning in. Anyway, folks, thank you so much. This has been Orange Chat Reviews. Catch us on the replay and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Stay humble.